So I thought about not really doing this, or like making a YouTube short, but I figured because might as well make a video because I haven't made one in 3 days. I've been grinding RuneScape all day, so yeah. Um, right. Let's talk about the PR6 gear for this season. Again, not very impressed about this season, but regardless, as a YouTuber, I feel like I should talk about it. Otherwise, people are gonna keep asking me about it. And it's gonna get weird if I don't answer some of the questions that you guys have for me about the gear this season, so might as well do it. Right, so the first thing we have here is gonna be the Twin 150mm, which is basically the gun you use for Felix Schultz. Light cruiser gun, again, it's AP based, and like most AP light cruiser guns in the game, not a big fan of it because their modifiers are absolutely horrible. Um, except the Plymouth gun, that one's the only acceptable one. But regardless, though, this is actually really good for Felix because when equipped by DD, all this weapon's armor damage modifiers increase by 15%. If you guys know Felix's buff, she gets more damage increase for specific targets when she has a light cruiser gun equipped. So pretty much use it for her. Otherwise, again, not the greatest fan when using AP light cruiser guns. They're just not that great at all. Unless that ship has like a Neptune buff where you get AP or you get damage bonuses by using AP guns. Not a fan of it. So it is meh. Just basically use this on Felix if you really need to use it. That's pretty much it. The next gun here is going to be the prototype. Did I just click the same thing twice? No. A triple 150mm Type 5 prototype. And this is again another light cruiser gun. This time, this one is for Shimanto, and this is HE. So HE is definitely okay, but I feel like it's just a better version of the Mogami light cruiser gun, which is basically this right here. And again, I think we have a better version of that already in the Gear Labs. So, right here, I was like right below it. I feel like this is a better version or an alternative version, not better version of this one right here. So again, you have this 30 firepower, 15 anti-air, so less firepower compared to this one right here. In terms of damage, it has a 20 times 6 spread versus a 23 times 6 spread, but it is definitely slower. Okay, it's slower there as well too. So yeah, everything else is about the same. Shell is 2x3, 2x3 as well too. Higher coefficient, so that has that going for it. And the bottom part, armor mods are basically the same thing as well too. So honestly, I feel like it's just an alternative version of the Gear Labs gun we have. The only difference is that when equipped by a Vanguard ship, it has a special anti-air gun. So I think it's like an alternative between like a little bit of a Seattle gun and a little bit of the upgraded Mogami gun. So honestly, I don't think it's too terrible. But again, I don't like jack of all trade guns. So if you want to go like damage route, this one's actually not bad, I don't think. And if you want to go like a little mixture of speed and like procking and stuff, I definitely do recommend the Seattle gun much more. That is a really good gun right here. If I find it, you can't go wrong with this gun. It's still one of the best guns to this very day because it's fast, reliable, just overall really good gun. Now the big topic right here is going to be the triple 203mm, the Hindenburg gun right here, the featured UR gear for this season. When we're comparing heavy cruiser guns right here, so if you want to compare Drake or whatever, I'll bring it up right here. It is actually better in terms of medium and arguably heavy armor as well too, mainly because of how fast it shoots. It's about 0.5 seconds faster than the Drake gun, so definitely does win out in probably that department. But regardless though, if we were to compare guns, 65 on both, which is very good. A little bit lower on the damage by 53s on the shells versus the 54, but it's not too big of a deal. Big right here, the 0.5 second speed difference in the volleys. That is very good. I like that a lot. The angle here is going to be a 50, so maybe a little bit not on the accurate side, but shouldn't be too terrible though. Not that awful. Everything else though, roughly about the same. I think shells about 50 range, so it's a little bit shorter compared to the Drake ones, but again, not too big of a deal. same coefficients, and now the armor typing. So Drake gun right here is going to be a 115, 115, 95, whereas the Hindenburg gun is 85, 120, and 85 right here. So on light armor, Drake gun went straight up, right? Medium armor, obviously, this is going to be Hindenburg because higher damage modifiers on medium and faster reload right here, despite having the lower shell damage increase. Now, for heavy armor, probably going to have to give it to Hindenburg because you can probably proc more with the faster reload or whatever. By 0.5 seconds, though, it's not too big. Otherwise, she is behind on the armor typing right here. But I think it still wins out like roughly in the heavy armor department. Now, here's the big takeaway about this gun right here. And this is why I call this season like kind of a whatever season. Like it should have been a different UR gun. I really do not believe we need another heavy cruiser UR gun. Like Drake's gun is barely used nowadays, right? Even though it is best in slot for pretty much every single heavy cruiser in the game as of right now. You don't need a second one. Really, really don't. Mainly because heavy cruisers right now are in a very terrible spot. Even like some of the best heavy cruisers out there are barely used. I think the only one you more often than others is like Anchorage. If you're playing like PvP or something, or like some kind of like tank setup, right? Where you need like some damage and like a lot of tanking. Pretty much Anchorage is like the only commonly used heavy cruiser nowadays. Like Drake isn't used anymore. Like all those new ones that comes out. If you guys are into like the actual end game setups or whatever, you pretty much don't use heavy cruisers because large cruisers are much more bulkier, minus Anchorage, compared to large heavy cruisers. They do roughly more damage as well too, sometimes depending on the ship or whatever. And this more useful overall compared to a heavy cruiser, minus Anchorage, for the most part. So when you ask me, when we talk about Hindenburg, right, you want to have two of these guns on her because, again, she can't use two of these. Now, the issue is, if you guys have Drake guns already, there's really no need for you to go all out for getting these guns. Unless you're absolutely at end game and you have like 3 or 4 of every UR gear from every season, there's no point getting these guns. You're better off going back for PR4 10 rise or like getting a couple Plymouth guns even, because even though those are like barely used, there's still some upgrades to those like specific ships, right? I have 4 or 5 Plymouth guns right here, plus 25 firepower to my battleship. That's an upgrade right there. Whereas if you get this gun right here, you pretty much only use it on Hindenburg and maybe Anchorage. That's pretty much it. Those 2 ships alone are arguably the only ones you probably use this on, because Drake isn't used nowadays. All the other heavy cruisers aren't used nowadays. It is basically a terrible, terrible time to be a heavy cruiser, and that's why I truly don't believe that this season is worth going for, because a heavy cruiser gun is basically a dead, because I don't like it. If you guys have Drake guns, especially plus 13 ones, toss those on Hindenburg for a time being. Like, I personally do not recommend going for this gun at all unless you're absolutely done with every season before this one. It's just not worth it. Yes, it is best in slot for medium armor and heavy armor, but again, you're better off spending your time elsewhere because it takes way too much time to get. And if you lock yourself into like 6 months or whatever trying to get one of these guns, yeah, it's gonna suck. You need 2 of them as well too. So yeah. Next gun right here is gonna be the Battleship gun, the 33380 MLE. So this gun right here is supposed to be, I believe, the upgraded version of well, it was either this one or the other one. What was it? So this one or no. This one is supposed to be like a weird gun. It's like an AP gun. It's supposed to be like a good, alternative champagne gun. So I'll bring up champagne gun right here. Now again, if we were to compare this gun, like it literally is like the identical to a champagne gun, but less damage and a little bit faster. Like everything is about the same right here for champagne gun versus the what's her name again? The Flandre or whatever. Well, I don't care anymore. Gun, right? You get 2 less damage, but you get 0.5 seconds reload. That is like, and it's worse on heavy armor as well too. Like, if you have champagne gun already, you don't need this gun. It is basically useless for you. Like, again, if you guys were at PR3 already, there is the Drake gun, there's the champagne gun. There's no reason for you to actually, like, work on this. Like, honestly, when it comes to gear, This season right here is basically an alternative PR3 gear season. So if you guys have been around since PR3, you pretty much have those gear already. You don't need these gears. It's basically whatever. But this is basically an alternative champagne gun. A little faster, a little weaker. It's whatever, honestly. That's how I feel about it. And the last gun right here, this is the supposed to be upgraded MK6. So if you guys don't know, for the longest time, the best battleship in the game, or one of the best battleship guns in the game was this one right here. Now this is supposed to be an alternative to this one, but the issue here is that it is so slow. Now it hits really hard. Don't get me wrong. 9 shell power. It's higher. It is really, really good, right? Absolutely phenomenal. Higher coefficients as well too. It's just very, very slow. So pretty much you can only get value out of this gun is if your ship is like really, really, really fast. And I'm talking a good ship that can get value out of this is like either preloaded ships because you can fire one right away. So like French ships. Vanguard is also another good option as well too. She has a crazy amount of reload self built into her, so fires really, really fast. Solid gun to put on her. But pretty much though, you don't want this on any average battleship because it's so slow. The fire rate is 30 seconds right here. Or if you look at the old gun, the MK6 or whatever, it's 24 seconds. So it's 6 seconds. That's a long time right there. It's a very, very slow gun. They pretty much only want it on either really fast ships or ships that can do preloaded shots right there. Like if we were to look at the best in slot battleship gun, which is going to be the or for heavy, not heavy, light armor stuff, it's going to be the New Jersey gun MK7. Now it has roughly the same damage output, right? We have 167 on damage shells versus 165, but 20 less firepower. It's just 6 seconds slower. So you have to keep that in mind. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult to work with this gun. It's just something that's like not really easy to work with. And it's pretty much only used on preloaded scenarios or maybe Vanguard. And lastly, there is an anti-air. Again, I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to anti-air stuff. Honestly, it looks okay to me from what I see. Very fast on the reload. Honestly, if it's like good as this one right here or as good, then it's acceptable. Like much lower. Actually, I don't like it. It has lower damage, faster fire rate, but it has lower damage, so I'm not a big fan. But hey, it could be good. I'm just whatever. So yeah. So that's basically a rundown of this season. TLDR, at least from what I see, not the greatest season. This is just an alternative PR3 season. So if you guys haven't been around since PR3, you can work with this one. A lot of side grades, a lot of options, but for the most part, nothing like super, super game breaking like PR4 or something. So you don't have to really go deep into this season if you don't want to. Just toss some cubes, get finish the ships because the ships are really, really good in this season, despite being the gear being like kind of whatever. And then skip this gear, work on other season gear, and come back to it when you're basically done with all PR gears before PR6. My advice to you guys. So thank you guys for watching as always. Sorry for the absence. I'll try to upload every day until whatever. But thank you guys for watching as always. I'm out of here and see you guys next video.